Today we're going to talk about a different Fuji lens. So I, for the past couple years, have had the Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens, which is this pretty little lens right here. And it is a great lens. I honestly have been mostly happy with it. It does have quite a bit of vignetting at wide open at 1.4, which is part of the issue. I like prime lenses more than zoom lenses because I do a lot more portrait style stuff, whether it's fashion related portrait style stuff or like actual portraiture and things. I have been using my X-T4 at some weddings. I have been using my X-106, although obviously that's a little different. I've used my X-T50 for some shoots like with church and things, just days where I don't want to carry as much gear, and honestly I can get great results from an APS-C camera, so why not? Now, I did not go for the newest 23mm lens. That is the weather resistant lens. This is just the regular original one, which I do know from watching plenty of videos that this obviously has its downsides too. It's not as sharp, but this one was smaller and lighter and easier. So this lens right here, if I were to compare it to, say, the one I usually, so this is my XM5. The lens I usually have on this camera is my 35 1.4. So not like a huge difference here, and it's just slightly wider. So it's the same width as the 56mm, because I'm not gonna show you that right now because it's on my other camera and that's too difficult. But either way, it's not that big on here. As usual, I have my little thumb grip. So yesterday I went to the park and I made a whole video for like TikTok. I'll try and share some of them in here. It wasn't my best video because honestly what I should have done is taken two cameras, each with one of these lenses on it, instead of having to switch all the time, but I wanted it to be like really comparable with the same camera. It was so windy, it was just a mess. I was frustrated trying to change lenses on the go. So I don't think I got as many good sample photos as I could have, but even in the ones I got, I can already tell the difference. This was a great starter lens for being cheaper, and I bought this one used. It wasn't too expensive. Not being weather sealed is not really an issue for me because most of my cameras like this one are not weather sealed. So the only camera I have that's weather sealed is my X-T4. I don't usually bring that one because it's bigger and bulkier. If I'm worried about weather sealing and I'm just out doing casual shooting, I'm using my X-106. So I'm not worried about that. And my sister's wedding is coming up in a few months and it'll be at the beach, and I am taking just Fuji gear because like it's just my sister's like small family ceremony, not a big deal, on the beach. I don't want to carry my giant Canon gear, and I know my Fujis can get great shots. So I wanted to have a better 23mm lens because while yes, I can have my X-106 on me, that's fine. It's an f2 and it's fine. This one just is not always the best, especially like I said, at wide open. I have instantly noticed from the photos how much sharper this one is, but also how much more dynamic range there is in the lens, because I tried to have even my camera settings exactly the same and they looked the photos look totally different. So I'll share some of those in here, but that's been my experience so far, is that this lens was much more worth it, and I kind of wish I had just done that from the start. Because honestly, now that there's the newer one, like this one's gone down way in price, and I don't mind having the older one. I think some of the older ones have some character to them. Like this 35 is probably my favorite Fuji lens like ever. And I love the way it flares when there's sun, like it just is beautiful. This stays on my camera 90% of the time, like any of my other cameras. This, and then like my 56 1.2 is probably my next favorite, but I take that back. My next favorite might actually now be the 18 1.4. I don't know. Those three are kind of tied because the 18 gives me great like environmental portraits. Like on our recent vacation, I was able to take some cool photos of my husband and I in the mountains where you still got a great like view of the background, but it still gave us that like shallow depth of field of focusing on us, because like I want those ones of us like that, but then I can focus on getting more of the background when I take separate shots of just the background, if that makes sense. That lens is just a little bigger and heavier, which is also why I didn't go for the new one of this, because it's much more comparable to that lens. This is still smaller and a little more compact. Yeah, that's on another camera too, so that's a little harder to show. It's on my X-T4 at the moment. Because the 18 1.4 is gonna be harder to show. Is a little longer and a little heavier. It's obviously a really nice lens because it's newer, but this one I just liked that it was smaller. I'm still trying to keep the smaller lenses. And to be fair, most of these are smaller than all my Canon, my good Canon lenses, because I have the 1.8 Canon lenses. They're fine. The STM lenses, they're fine, but they are not my like amazing lenses. But that's also the reason I've kept my 51.2 EF lens on my Canon, because I like the smaller size of that one better than the new one. It's the same with these. Like, I know the 33 1.4 is supposed to be much better for this, and I know the new 23 1.4 is supposed to be much better than this, but, and same with the new 56. These are all perfectly fine for me and for what I use them for. I don't notice issues with like autofocus. To be honest, my XM5 actually has super snappy autofocus. Like, I am almost never missing shots on this camera, and that doesn't matter which lens I have on it. So that's been really nice. It is definitely a smaller camera, and sometimes I have to get used to the fact that like I have to open the screen every time, which weirdly I'm used to that on my Canons. I don't know why that's like been weird for me on this one. I did add like the thumb grip, because obviously that has been a huge game changer for using this camera and being able to hold it. And my only complaint with this one, just like with the X-T30 and the X-T50, is just that you can't keep your settings the same when you turn the camera on and off. Like, if you have it on one of the custom settings, it resets the ISO and the shutter speed every time, because it makes you put those in the custom settings, whereas my X100VI doesn't make me do that, my V didn't make me do that, my X-T4 doesn't make me do that. I don't know why this one does, and so do the X-T32 and the X-T50, because that's an issue on both of those as well, and I wish it didn't, because it really does take away from the shooting experience when I turn my camera off in between to save battery, or make sure I don't accidentally hit the screen or something. I turn it back on, and then I have to quickly readjust all my settings. So that's my biggest complaint. But honestly, like, I have really loved this little camera, and this lens doesn't make it really that much bigger. Like, honestly, like, I'm holding this up, that's still a very small setup. So I'm going to show some images here from the Viltrox and from the Fujifilm lens, so that you can see comparatively. I'm probably just going to keep them in the video format that I already had them in and just add it in here, because I already put it all together with the text and everything. So hope you enjoy, and yeah, I'm really enjoying this lens. It's been great so far. I've only used it a little bit, like, that's it, but I've loved it so far. So